In 2015, NASA started releasing images that was taken by the Dawn spacecraft of the dwarf planet Ceres. And in these images, these bright spots or this anomaly appeared in Occator Crater. Now, the scientists did speculate that these bright spots were actually caused by frozen ice. Now, in 2018, recently, some of the new images that were coming in, the scientists changed their mind again and now claims that these are either sodium or salt deposits, the reason that we have these bright spots. Of course, that's disinformation too. They certainly know what these bright spots are, and they certainly know that there is extraterrestrial artifacts that's all over this dwarf planet Ceres. Occator Crater at one time was once a glass dome, and I'm actually going to be able to prove that to you. In this image here, some of the first signs of a deteriorated and collapsed structure can be seen in the center of what looks like a crater. And you can see them. It goes up, around, and of course when the structure collapsed, it followed the contour of the surface of inside of this glass dome. Here is, okay, so what I did is I took the hardest images to see, and then I left the best ones for last, and we're going to take a look at those. But you can see some of the structure that has collapsed. It goes down and follows the contour of the bottom of this glass dome, and then you can see the sections in it. I'm going to reduce the size again, and then you can see it again right here. Here's a darker view of it. You can still see the structures that had collapsed and deteriorated. Then here's a color version. I use this color to knock out the brightness so you can see the structures a little bit better. Here's part of the structure here. It's kind of bent and everything from deteriorating and falling. And look how it's shaped right here. And they're all shaped like this. Apparently this is where this glass blocks were placed in here. Or it could be very possible and a lot easier that they built the structures and then they poured in liquid glass, which would be a lot easier than lifting glass blocks. It just makes sense for them to melt it and pour it into place. Of course, that's just speculation. And then here's a brighter spot for it. And then again, you can see the squareness of this structure here, and it's done in sections. Okay, now we're going to go to the other side of this glass dome, and you don't really notice it unless you look at it, but these structures right here that have collapsed, you can see them quite well. And I'm going to make some adjustments so we can really see them. Okay, now here's the part, I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can. This structure, okay, this glass dome, I'm going to bring it in closer. The glass dome structure, of course, covered this whole area. These lines right here was part of the glass dome that had collapsed. But what had fallen over it was a glass canopy. And these structures here are part of the glass canopy that covered the glass dome. So yes, there was two glass canopies that covered this area. And now you can see the structure a lot better. This was part of the glass canopy that covered the glass dome. Perfect 90 degrees. Each one of these sections that the glass was put in, there's no way of getting a completely accurate measurement, but these two sections are approximately 10 miles wide, which makes each section 5 miles. Of course, that's a very rough estimate. It's probably a little bit smaller than that. So that tells you the size of these glass blocks. Here's a closer view of the structure. And then you can see that looks like I-beams. I doubt these were I-beams, but they do have an appearance of it with the two flanges on each side and then the flat part in between it. I'm going to reduce it down again. All this smoky, hazing looking stuff is the collapsed glass. And as you can tell, when it collapsed, a lot of it just fell over the structure, and then it scattered all out through what this once was a glass dome. Now we're going to take a look at the center of Occator Crater, which we know now is a glass dome. It's 60 miles across, and this bright spot is dead center with this glass. So why is it in the center? Well, I'm fixing to show you why that there's pieces of structural debris in the center. And it's because I'm going to bring it in closer. There's a structure or some type of dome right here in the center. This centerpiece is, my estimate was between 5 and 7 miles wide. So why is this structure or this dome in the center of this glass dome? Well, actually, it's not a glass dome. It is part of a structure. Now, this image was taken by NASA directly overhead of Occator Crater. And as you can see that there is a structure here, and it has a mound appearance. And then I lighten it up, and then you can see it even better. So exactly what is this? The best way to explain it is I'm going to take you to the lunar surface. We're going to look at a glass dome on a lunar surface that has partially deteriorated. But in the center of the glass dome that's on the lunar surface, there is a structure there. So what I'm going to do, let's go to it. Let's take a look at it. And I'm going to take you to the crater, And then once we get there, I'm going to come back and I'm going to explain to you actually the purpose of this structure. So I'll see you on the other side once I get to the right image. Okay, now we're there, and here's the glass dome. As you notice, in the center of it, there's some type of support pillar. And that makes sense, especially with Occator Crater or Occator glass dome, because with that dome being 16 miles across and with all that glass on it, it had to have some type of support to keep it supported and stable. Here's the pillar here. And then as you notice, there's some type of structure at the top of this pillar. And what this structure is at the top of the pillar, and here's a good example. Here's one of the glass domes that I found here, and it was intact enough to be able to use for an example. So this structure here actually held a plate. And the main part of the structure that held this glass and plate in place was, the structure was attached to this structural plate here. What's unique about these glass domes and this glass canopy I was talking about is they built from the top using this plate as part of the structure. They built the glass canopy that went over the glass dome and over the lunar surface on the moon, and they did the same thing on the dwarf planet Ceres when they built these glass domes, which tells you that it was the same engineering or the same ETs or peoples that built this. Notice these pieces coming out and extend well over the glass dome area. Apparently, when this glass dome deteriorated and fell apart, and because this glass canopy was attached to this plate on this glass dome, once this plate collapsed in, it took the glass canopy with it and it fell, and that's the reason it extends over. Now I'm going to show you a perfect example of what this glass canopy looked like. Now we're still on the lunar surface. Here's a glass dome. It collapsed, the structure glass dome. You can see bits and pieces of it through here. And then remember, it was attached to that top plate and extended over the area. And then here is that glass canopy. Of course, it's deteriorated and it's collapsed in different places. So I'm going to enhance it so we can even get a better view. And then here's this glass canopy that covered that dome again and extended over the surface. And you notice it has also a really bright spot on it here, just like Occator Crater, and that's glass also. Now here's a different glass dome on the lunar surface, and then here's the glass canopy coming off of it. Look how it's deteriorated all through here, and some of the surfaces really, you can really see it, and then you can see parts where it's still somewhat intact. goes quite a few miles out from these glass domes. So now we know that this structure was at one time a support column that helped hold up this glass dome. I want you to notice something. Let me enlarge it. There's still pieces of structure that are left. There's one right here. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely round. Almost looks like a pipe. It probably isn't, but that's what it appears to be. You can definitely tell it's artificially and intelligently made, just like the glass dome is. And then here's another part of what this structure was. And then you can tell this is artificially made because it's got these 90-degree edges over here, and then right here is where this structure separated. I guess just due to the deterioration, the glass dome and the glass canopy collapsing over it. So this is really pretty interesting. There's a lot more artifacts on the planet Ceres, especially that large mountain, or they claim that's a mountain that's approximately 3 miles tall and 10 miles wide. It's called Huluna Mons. And the next video is going to be on that. I have some amazing results on what they call a mountain, actually what it is. So I'll see you on that video. So everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting my channel and subscribing and giving me a thumbs up. This is Tony with Earth Files Earth History signing out.